So today I will talk about Azure Key Vault. Who has heard of Azure Key Vault? A few. Who has actually worked with it? One person. Perfect. So my name is Kerkhove. I'm a Kinect for Windows MVP, and I work for Codit as an integration professional. For those who don't know Codit, here's what we do. Voila. I'll start with a demo called Spammer. It's a very simple SaaS example where I will highlight some insecure stuff, which might sound horrifying, but people really do these stuff and it's not secure. So let's go straight to it. So the basic idea is, actually, I think I have. Yes. So a customer registers in my spam their customers or someone from the company. They provide me with a Twilio account and their login, and also give me their storage account so we can log something in their tables. Next, they can use their account to call my API so I can send the text for them and spam everyone. So a very basic concept. So the basic template, you can log in and you log in with Google. So I have an account, deleted tenant. Normally everything is set up. If Google wants to work with me. Okay, so problem one, I just gave them all my sensitive Twilio stuff, and I don't know how they store it because they just show me in plain text all the same keys. And then we can go to the API and send a text message. So we will send a message to Mike. And if all goes well, Mike will receive a message very soon. Voila. So the message is being sent plain text. Voila. So the message is sent plain text over the wire, but we use SSL as transport security. So if you go have a look at the website, in the new portal, and we go to application settings, we see that my Google stuff is stored in plain text, and my connection string is stored in plain text, and I, as a developer, can steal this stuff or abuse it or whatever, as well as my Twilio stuff, because everything is stored as plain text. So I can abuse their Twilio account and whatever, spam people that their uncle in South of Africa has died and they won $1 million. So things which are not good about this example. We just stored the sensitive data as plain text. The Google Authentication was also stored as plain text in the weapon config, but only operators and developers were able to grab that. The connection string was not encrypted and was also available. The API was unsecured and probably more stuff. On the other hand, there was transport security and external login, so I'm not responsible for storing their passwords in a safe manner, because that's also a problem for a lot of websites. When you do give me my password back, I forgot it, they just send you it in plain text. So still don't get it, but it happens. And then this is happening to your customers. They don't trust you anymore, and your revenue is walking away. So you need to fix it. For example, Sherpa, when you try to recover your password, they just send it in plain text. God knows why. So Troy Hunt built a website, own websites, where you can see all the breaches. So customers are becoming more afraid of sharing their data because, as you see, Adobe, 150 million accounts. It's pretty impressive. So customers are afraid of sharing all the data, and as I mentioned, developers and operators can steal your data as well, abuse it. You can't trust your developers. So Microsoft Azure came with a solution, Azure Key Vault, which is a service they use internally for some of their services, not every service. So it's pretty production proof, although it's still in public preview. But what is Azure Key Vault? So it allows you to store sensitive data, such as secrets and keys, which we'll see later on hardware security modules, which are big racks, big modules you plug in your rack, but they provide it as a service. So the big idea around it is that you give the control back to the customer, so they have control over their sensitive data, because they will give you they will give you access to their key vault, because it's their secrets. They will manage it, and they will choose who has access to it. And on the other hand, developers are less responsible for storing everything in a secure way, and they will have access to less data. Customers will also have an audit log, which is not included in the preview at the moment. So they can see consumer A has requested secret A 6 times in 1 minute, so very suspicious, let's revoke their access. So if you have a look, and that's the same slide, we have the concept of secrets and keys. Secrets you can think of as a dictionary, where you say key A contains value and a connection string. They will store that in an HSM. In an encrypted way, sorry. And it's limited to 10 kilobytes. So that's pretty long for a secret. And you also have versioning. So you can always request the latest version, or when you update a certain secret, let's say you re-roll your storage account key and you update your vault, it will have a new version number. So you can also point to the old version if you want. Normally, when you re-roll your storage account, you won't do that, but in some scenarios, you might want to do that. You can also use keys, which are stored as RSA 24/8 keys and are created by the Key Vault owner. A consumer cannot create keys, but secrets can be created by consumers and the vault owners. So later on, I will show you a demo where the consumer, will create new secrets in the vault as well as reading back. So At first, it sounds pretty confusing, but we will see it in action later on. And the big difference is that keys can be used to encrypt, sign, decrypt, and such stuff, while secrets are just a container for storing data. Now, the big difference is keys are slower, and when you need to reuse a certain value, let's say you want to store a certificate, you can use a key or a secret, and because you will access it very much, very much, you will go for a secret because it's much faster than a key. A key consists of two types. You have HSM keys, which are only available in the premium tier, and software keys. The difference is with software keys, you have a VM, which is receiving the requests, performing actions on the key and the HSM, while a HSM key, is working directly on the HSM, which is more secure because you lose the VM in between as a point of where they can hack or stuff, or there's a party less between. But on the other hand, HSM keys are more secure and also expensive. So this is an example of how we did it in the first demo. So the developer deploys his application, looks everything up in his app settings, and uses the connection string to go to the customer's database. So the customer doesn't know how is my connection string stored, how many times do they access my database and stuff. So in a more secure way, the customer creates a key vault. It authorizes a new Azure AD application to their vault with the limited permissions the client needs. So if they just need to retrieve a secret, it will only be able to do that. They create the secret where they will store the connection string, and they pass the data to the developer who knows, here's the vault, that's the secret you need to consume, use that value. So the developer deploys his application, stores the vault ID, the vault URI, to which he will consume the secret, negotiates the secret, and then connects. And there you see the vault owner will see that developer A requested the secret, and they will keep track of that. And if he requests it too much as they want, they can just revoke his Azure AD application, and he will not get the secret back. Any questions until now? No. No, you receive the connection string here, then you can choose I will cache it and reuse it. But then if the vault gets a new version for that secret, you will not be able to connect because maybe they deleted the database and they want you to connect to a new one. But then you can, of course, handle it. You get an exception, you retry 5 times. It fails, maybe there is a new connection string, and then you go back to the vault and request a new value.
So, for example, you get the connection string back, is it then stored in encrypted strings?
No, you get it as plain text, so there is still a vulnerability that they abuse the plain text value, but they have track of you receiving it. They have track of you requesting the value. So there is still a vulnerability indeed, but now you are certain that it's stored in a secure way. Of course, they can still save it in their own database, but it's already a bit more secure. Anyone else? Eve? it depends on the scenario. In this scenario, the vault owner will be responsible for creating a Azure application in their directory and giving the application ID and key, or application ID and certificate for authentication. And then the developer will use that. So they will still have to store that data. But then, as you will see in the example, the developer can still create his own vault and store the customer authentication data in their own vault. So it's not in the app settings, for example, or in their own database. So it's pretty scenario dependent who will create the application, who will create a vault and stuff. So that's the hardest part of using key vaults, not the development. Do you have a question? Yes, because it's specific to Azure AD, and a key in Azure AD, you can select 1 year and 2 years. So if that expires, you will need to send a new secret. No, not that I know. Of course, you can revoke the access as a vault owner manually. You have full control of it. So let's summarize. Vault owner has control over the vaults in a way that they control the access control. If someone should only have access for 1 day, they just revoke it after 1 day. They all have their keys and secrets in one place, and all the people who need to consume it will go that way. So you only need to maintain one vault with all your data. They can change the permissions, revoke consumers, they can regenerate keys without breaking apps. For example, if my application wants to lock something and they re-roll their storage key, they just update their vault, and next time I will retry it, will use the latest version if I'm not caching. Because it's a public preview service, it doesn't have an SLA, but they are aiming for a 99.9, I think. And audit log is then the vault consumer just has to authenticate to Azure AD. They receive a token and they go with that token to the key vault. And they can't see the encryption keys. So they can just say, this is my message encrypted with that key, and they will receive a encrypted message back, but they don't know how and that stuff. So they are really limited to what they need to be able to do. As I mentioned, access control is based on Azure AD, and it can only be assigned at the vault level. So this is pretty important. If you have 2 SaaS applications and you need to store 2 different types of data, let's say I have Twilio and storage, and another SaaS application needs access to my service bus, my application will be able to see those service bus secrets, because I can't say application A can read with A and B, but not C. So you need to create a new vault for a new SaaS application. Let's say if you really want the isolation between the 2 parties. You have control over the permissions to the keys and the secrets, which is obvious. And you can authenticate with the ID and a key or certificates. Here's a diagram. The administrator creates a service principal, which is a application, then creates a vault and applies certain permissions for that application. Then the consumer will authenticate with Active Directory, will receive a token back, and will send that token to Key Vault along with their requests. And if they're allowed, it will give them a result. So you're really dependent on Azure AD. There is no way to use Key Vault without it. and then a more secure attempt. It's not perfect, but Billy, the tenant, as we saw in the demo, will create his own vault and store his storage account and Twilio data in his own vault. It will create a new AD application for my service and will then register with that data and say, here's my vault, this is your application ID and secrets, and my data is stored in all these secrets. So you don't need to pass the plain text value anymore.
Then my application will store
the authentication to this vault in my internal vault and store the links to the secrets of their vault in my database. So when I need to fetch all his Twilio accounts, Twilio stuff, I go to the database, look up, these are the secret names containing the values. I then do a get secret requests to their vault and then use the responses to authenticate. Are there any questions about this flow or things that aren't clear? No. I think I'm going to demo it. Yes. So when we go to the more secure one and we log in again, we will go to our account settings, and here we see that we give the name of our vault. It's the name, not the URL, it's a mistake. So, and then the Azure AD application, the Azure application ID, sorry, and the secret to authenticate, which is hidden for security reasons. And then here are the names of the secrets that will contain, okay, wrong labels, but what the hell. They will contain the values to the storage account name and keys. And again here, is it required to save a storage account name in a key vault? Yes, no, actually it's not that sensitive, so you can save it in your database, so you don't need to expose it over Key Vault, but why not? It's a demo. And now when I want to use these values, I need to perform 5 requests to Key Vault. So this is a downside of Key Vault. You can't say, here's a list of requests, give me all the values, you need to do it one by one. You can do it by requesting, give me all the secrets in the vault and then page through the whole list. But if you have hundreds of secrets, you're gone for a while. So when we look at the database, we now no longer need to store anything that is sensitive. So we just save the secrets we saw. Then if we go to the portal and the website that is hosting our website, and we have a few minutes, we have a look at the app settings. So here we see some new stuff. We are storing our internal vault data in here because I'm not using a certificate. If I was using a certificate, it was enough to store the vault name and the vault authentication ID, which is my AD application. But now you can steal my key as well, and you can request it in my name. So I didn't have the time to use certificates, but try to avoid this. Try to use certificates so you don't need to store a key in your config or database or wherever, because you need to authenticate with your own internal vault. And then here I am storing the names of the secrets which are containing these values in my own vault. So you no longer see my connection string or Google stuff in the portal, so operators can't steal it anymore. Also, if you look at the database icons, there's a difference. Since last week, you can do SQL Server TDE on your databases. So I have encryption of my database. If they steal it, it's still encrypted. So if we go back and have a look at the overview, we see that the credentials were stored as plain text. So don't do that. Use a certificate. It's the same way as authenticating to AD in your other application. So it's not fault specific. And the API was still unsecured because it's a demo. On the other hand, as you will see in the demo, I forgot to show that, we will encrypt the message before we will send it to my application. My application will then decrypt it with the customer's encryption key. So if for some reason they are intercepting the message, they can't read it because it's encrypted with RSA. Also, the external vault authentication was stored in my internal vault and no longer in my database. And the data is securely stored in their vaults, and they have a log of what I'm doing. And the database was encrypted. So if you go back to the demo and have a look at some codes, we will first send again an encrypted message to Mike. So here's my application ID in Azure. Maybe I should show this. Manage with Windows Azure. Wrong account. I will show you later on. So this is my API account ID for my SaaS application. We will send something. And here we say we want to use the message encryption key in the Codit vault, which is the vault of Billy the tenant, who is the customer. So I can show you that. I have PowerShell. And when I do get Azure Key Vault, I think I still need to authenticate. It's doing a lot of imports and exports. Yes, I need to authenticate. So this is the subscription of the tenant. PowerShell is working. So when I redo this, okay. Let's retry. I'm not a PowerShell fan, so I'm doing this because the portal isn't supporting Key Vault yet.
So we have an instant show off this
So if it's not working, we will skip it. Okay, we will skip it. Is it doing it by default? Oh. Okay, thank you. No, it's the wrong one. Just to make sure it's still the wrong one. Ah. New subscription ID. I think it's that one. Now get. Yes. Yeah. It should work now. It's the right subscription. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, there it is. Thank you. So here's our vault. As you see, we're using the standard tier because we will not use HSM keys. And now you will see here the first tenant has all permissions. That is my subscription tenant who has full access, which makes sense. So second tenant, this one is my SaaS service, who only needs to get the secret values. And second, it needs to allow, it needs to decrypt using a key. And then third one is my WPF client you see here, who needs to encrypt this message to Mike. And we will hit send. And if we have a few seconds, it will arrive. Three. So if we
read it.
So here we see the message body after encryption over here. If I would put a breakpoint, you will see that we are receiving a base 64 encrypted message. We then go to the vault, say, here's my base 64 encrypted message, decrypt it for me, and we send that as a text. So I don't know how encryption works. I just need to say, let's go. It's already open. So decrypting is as easy as this. We have the name of the key. We have the byte array of the encrypted message. We create the URI to the vault with the name of the key. So this will be codit.vault.azure.net/key/message encryption. And then we say vault client.decrypt async using RSA OAEP, which are just a standard which is available on MSDN. And then we pass in the message, and that's it. So I was pretty amazed that it was that easy. The only thing you still need to do is initiate the Vault client, which is as easy as passing in a callback who does the dancing with Azure AD and gives back the token. So here I pass in the Azure application ID and secret. Same for setting and getting the secrets. Just call get secret async, pass in the name of the secret, and you will receive the value. So no magic. Really, the hard part is thinking about who will create a vault, what permissions do we give, and what type of SKU do we use. So it's really easy. Now, while we're at it, let's go to the Azure AD. You need to use the default directory. There is no support for creating new directories, creating vaults, and using that directory for authentication. And that cost me 1 hour. So if you go to applications, we see spammer, and now we have our application. We have our client ID and the key, and that's it. Just pass that to your SaaS application, authenticate, and you're done. So maybe more PowerShell. What can we show? We can show all the secrets. So here are all my secrets. If I now say, get me the Azure Key Vault secrets, I think it's just name, yes. Name. You will get back a object containing the name of the vault, the name of the secret, and a secure value, but who cares? It's just here in plain text. So, and here you see the full idea of the secret, and the last part is the version. So if I would, let's do it. New storage name as convert to secure string. So now we have it in a variable. We say set Azure Key Vault secrets. Too much type. I think it's secret, yes, and then how do they call new storage name? Ta-da. And now you see this version is different of this one. If I will perform a new get secret, I will receive Azure instead of Codit because I didn't specify a version. So here you see, maybe it's a bit too small. I didn't specify. Let's just look at the overload. So now, normally, yes, secret version is, and then something, the whole GUID you saw in the URL. So maybe add a new application so you can see that as well. So we do add new application. Add application my organization is developing. Azure demo, we give it a name. We select web application or web API. Just give it a URL. Voila. You create a new key. Indeed, you have the option 1 or 2 years. If it expires, you will require to send the update to all your tenants, to the consumer that is using that application. Sorry. So now you have the key, but for the sake of giving it access. I don't need it. I just do access policy, and then I do vault name, then give it the ID of my application. Say the permissions to keys are, let's say, encrypt, and then permissions and all access to the secrets. And, okay, nice job. Maybe the problem is this is a different subscription, so it's because I'm not in the default directory of my Codit subscription that it's holding me back. So if I was using the right subscription, it would have worked. But if you want to see all the options of the permissions, you just do dash question mark, and here you see a lot of options for the keys. And for the secrets, some other options. If you give a user the get permissions, he will still be able to do a kind of list if you use all the combinations of the alphabet. So something important. List is really doing a give me all the secrets, but if you do 100 requests with a get and start at A and do all the combos, you will receive all the matches as well. So you can't, even though they don't know the names of all the secrets, they will still be able to get them. So it's important to know as well. Creating a key vault is as easy as new Azure Key Vault name. You will need to give it a name, a resource group, a location, just Europe, and a SKU. For SKU, you have the option for standards or premium. If you use premium, you will be able to use HSM keys as well. Did I make a typo? Premium subscription ID. Let me peek. No. Here's the option premium, so maybe include some beef. Yeah, but they're like standard. Maybe no, that's the problem. Yes. So I forgot the marker for string. Okay. And now it's creating a new key vault. If you specified a resource group name that did not exist, it will create it for you. So I have to do nothing and wait until it's ready. And PowerShell is giving my cursor back. In the meantime, does anybody have questions?
Suppose you have a SaaS system, you have 5 tenants, and each tenant has 100 users. How many 100 users you have for Google account or Microsoft?
Of the users independently?
Yes.
So only leave those values. So nobody else to the vault or.
Yeah, well, the thing is, in general, customers are not very smart with this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So asking them to set up their own Azure vault for their users, for their tenant database, requires also that you, let's say, build a wrapper around it.
But who will consume the vault? Will it be your SaaS application?
Yes.
then you just need one application in their Active Directory, and you retrieve the ID and the secret or certificates. And then if person A comes to your service, you request the secret for person A. If it's B, then you go to secret B. Then you will need some kind of mapping between user and the secret name in their vault, or a convention. So
Thing is, you're providing a SaaS app. It's a bit complicated to explain to the customer how to set up
yes,
a secure vault. Let's say.
yes, but it's something you will need to when you start building in a SaaS application. Good question. That's why I required to specify the secret names at registration. But indeed, if you are a company that has 1,000 of employees, you don't want to paste in 1,000 names. So be a procedure for that, or something to think about indeed.
The users
They will probably register independently. So then you can use, for example, I would say their email address, but secrets don't support exotic characters such as @ so that's something I discovered, but then you can do maybe something around that indeed.
Why would you store that in? It's only the, let's say,
No, you can use it as the name of the secret containing, I don't know, something sensitive. I don't know. Well, what is it? A real word?
It's just like to encrypt a specific database, but you have to assume that the database is residing in your subscription and not in the customer's subscription. So it could be like, for example, encrypting a database so that only the backup, only the end user or the tenant manager of the customer could unlock it. Then I can imagine that this works, but to store a lot of individual user data per tenant,
No,
I just don't see how the onboarding process goes of getting that set up.
the onboarding will indeed be a problem, especially in your scenario. But I think it depends on the scenario. Indeed, if you have 100 of users, you may first, do you need to store it in the vault, or is it something that is not sensitive? If it's not sensitive, just go for SQL database or something else. If it is, then you will need to think of one migration process, something to link user A to their um, an answer to your question, but anybody else? Nobody. Nobody. A no-brainer if you start a new project. Yeah. But if you're in a team, maybe hopefully there's someone smart that will say, maybe we should store it there. But indeed, it has been around since I think February, and I think it has been very quiet on the Key Vault front. And I think it's a great service, but it's one of the secondary ones who is forgotten because it's not that popular. But I think it's powerful and also good, because the question is not when will you be hacked, is not if you will be hacked, the question is when will you be hacked? And if 0-day is approaching, is happening, and then you say, maybe we better use Key Vault, it's already too late. I think it's just, you need to just say, it's sensitive, we need to use Key Vault. Can we force people to? No, but we can suggest them to. It's in the slides. No. So some other features that are enabled by Azure Key Vault, you can use SQL transparent data encryption on-prem. So you saw I was using SQL database encryption. It's not using Key Vault. They're not eating their own dog food. I don't understand why. But on-prem, you can do it with a link to the cloud, as you can see here. I won't go through it. It's pretty much the same. So we just use a connector to your on-prem and such. You can use the key to encrypt it. SQL database is using their own mechanism. So I don't understand, but if you want to encrypt on-prem, please use Key Vault. Also, if you're building a project for the customer, they will create the vault encrypting their SQL database. It's not you as a developer who will spin up a vault and encrypt SQL. It's also an important mindset. The customer, their CIO, and their security operation team will manage all the sensitive stuff, and you will just consume it. And they will also have the audit logs. Something else is a partnership with CloudLink, where they are using Key Vault to encrypt the VMs when they shut them down and decrypt them when they start the VM. The scenarios are on the Key Vault blog if you want to know more. There's also your bring your own key, which is the migration of your on-premise HSMs to Key Vault by using Key Vault. So if you want to go to the cloud, there's a solution for that as well. Now, the Vault key and secrets are region specific, as you can see, because they are stored on physical HSMs for law and compliances reasons. So disaster recovery might be an issue if you are running in 2 regions. Let's say my application is running in the US as well, in East US. I will have to create a second vault in there, because if Europe is going down, I'm losing my Key Vault. So my application in the US will break as well. But you can create your own replication between the 2. But that might be not as easy, because who is the master and stuff. So I think that's a pain point in the people. And also they have different URLs, but that's not the worst problem. Yes? Come again? So you are indicating that the appliances are for one region. Yeah? Yeah? Yes? Yes? Yes, that's true as well. So in my example, if I deploy the SaaS application in West and East US, I can use 2 different storage accounts for each region one, but my Twilio secrets will still be the same if I'm in East or West US, and then you need to do sync those to get, maybe that's more clarifying. So okay. I think we're up to pricing. It's not that much for 10,000 operations. But of course, it depends again on your scenario if you are constantly requesting. But I think 10,000 operations and only paying 1 cent is a good start. Important to know is if you're using premium and HSM keys, you need to pay per key, per version, a 37 cents addition to the operations you're performing on them. So it's a difference with software keys. So if you really need the security of using HSM keys, you will pay a lot more for them. So it's still in preview, only available in 6 regions with limited tooling. Since a few weeks, there's a NuGet package for .NET as well, so that's really good, but no SLA. So some things I noticed is that they're going for a 99.9, and I think they are going general available this summer, but it's a suggestion, it's an assumption. I don't really know. It's been available for a long time. They're using it internally for a long time. So I think they will be ready this summer. They will provide additional tooling and portal support, so you get rid of PowerShell for demos. And the audit log, which is one of the main benefits of Key Vault, which is still not included in the preview. So we have auditing of what's happening with your vault and who should I revoke. So I wanted to end with quote I mentioned a few minutes ago. I don't know who said it. I lost the name, but I think it's a really good quote. Anyone? So it's more internally, as I did for storing, for example, their authentication data, but also, so I wanted to combine these two. So we see the 2 approaches. Yeah, indeed. So you get rid of storing them in insecure locations where they don't belong. Still, you can get the data and you have it in plain text, so there's still a risk of the consumer storing it or selling it or whatever, but and you see who's using it. So I think it's the main benefit.
Come with the library that makes sure that you use the key vault, you have to use that library that stores everything encrypted in memory as well. Because one of the main objectives here is to take the sensitive data away from development and operations, and everybody can take it up with an ILS process.
Yeah.
And then start gigabytes of data.
Yeah, that's still a risk indeed. But now you are certain that the person you trust he can store it in his database, but you're not certain. how do I say it?
Well, you can box it.
Yeah,
You can really box it that
indeed.
the guys in operations in effects that have physical access to the content,
Yeah,
physical access to the machine, can really reach
indeed.
into.
Because in the first demo I gave, you pasted in everything plain text, and then there was a black hole. What are they doing with it? I don't know. Are they storing it securely? I don't know. Now at least you are sharing it in a secure way, in a encrypted way, and allowing people to use that data. If you think that they are abusing it, just revoke them, and then you are certain that they can't abuse it. And then typically you could re-roll your storage keys so they stuff. So and then the other consumers are using the new version. So nobody. Yes. Yourself as a company. Yourself as a company, for example, and also your end users, depending on your scenario, because you are certain that it's stored in an encrypted way and not just plain text or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Nobody else? I think that was it. Yes. Thank you for your attention.